Hello and welcome to Spectrum TV News at 4. I am Francis Oyima Edit, coming to you live from Uyo, the capital city of Akwa Ibom State. Let's take a look at the headlines. President Tinubu signs executive order suspend 5% excise tax on telecoms. Senate probes Kanu Abuja Airport's concession. Plus, Kiev says Ukraine continues with reform despite the war. We will bring you details of these stories and more in a moment. Many thanks for joining us. We begin the news this afternoon with Nigeria's leader, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who has signed 4 executive orders, one of which is the suspension of the 5% excise tax on telecommunication services, as well as the excise duties escalation on locally manufactured products, briefing journalists at the State House in Abuja. He stated that the President also signed the Finance Act Effective Date Variation Order 2023, which now defers the commencement date of the changes contained in the Act from May 23 to September 1, 2023. The President also signed the Customs Excise Tariff Variation Amendment Order 2023, shifting the commencement date of the tax changes from March 27 to August 1, 2023. Days minimum advance notice for tax changes is contained in the 2017 National Tax Policy. Meanwhile, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has assured genuine local and foreign FLNG Limited Group, Julius Rone, made this known after a meeting with Tinubu yesterday in Abuja. According to report, investors from France and Japan pledged to invest $5 billion in the floating liquefied natural gas sector during a meeting with the President. And I said that the President also directed them to prioritize the project, which is expected to generate no fewer than 7,000 direct and indirect jobs in the country. He said that the investors from Technip Energies of France and JGC Corporation of Japan were also directed to report any challenge to the President in the course of implementation. In another development, the federal government has asked Nigerian Environment Ibrahim Yusufu Environmental Sanitation Day, NESD, which is usually marked on the 28th of June. NESD is to promote behavioral change in sanitation and hygiene practices amongst citizens. From the red chambers, the Senate today passed legislation against the concession of Aminu Kano International Airport, Kano, Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, and other international airports across the country. The Senate made these known after passing a motion by Senator Samala Kawu, NNPP, Kano South. The Senate agreed that the Committee on Aviation, when constituted, should investigate the ministry and agencies concerned to report back to the Senate before hitting the gravel. The Deputy Senate President, Jabrin Baru, who presided over the plenary, noted that concession was the best way to move forward, as it was one of the best practices all over the world. Baru noted that although concession under the former Minister of Aviation, Hadi Sirika. While the Senate has asked relevant government agencies to release funds for dredging of canals across the country to prevent flooding during this year's rainy season, the upper chamber made the Senate Majority Whip Ali Ndume drew the attention of the House to a motion he had raised in the 9th Assembly on the uneven disbursement of loans to the 6 geopolitical zones by the Development Bank of Nigeria. However, not satisfied with the outcome of the pre-ballot, the Senate's recommendations on the matter had been presented to the executive. Meanwhile, at the conclusion of the debate,
that if the impending floods when the rain really starts in September to November 2023 is not checkmating
measures that will avert the ugly scenario of flooding before it occurs, will allow flooding to occur and then rush to the scene with a lot of money for palliatives.
We solve them, not just for each rainy season, we go into firefighting mode.
Relevant ministries, departments, and agencies to release funds as provided for in the 2023 budget.
To be further concerned that if the impending floods when the rain really starts in September to November 2023 is not checkmated,
investigate the alleged forgery of the Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination (UTME) result by AG Kemem Mesoma. The House passed the resolution during the plenary following the adoption of a motion sponsored by the People's Democratic the 3 years ban imposed on the pupil pending the outcome of the investigation. Meanwhile, JAM said it had discovered the developers of the app used for the manipulation of the 2023 Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination result. The board spokesperson Fabian Benjamin made this known in an interview. INEC has filed a 6-count charge against its suspended resident electoral commissioner REC in Adamawa State, Hudu Yunusa Ari. INEC filed the charges at the High Court to establish a prima facie case against Yunusa Ari. The police had arrested Yunusa Ari over his actions during a Adamawa weekend. In a separate development, the Acting Inspector General of Police, Olukayode Egbetokun, has said the police officers accused of running over a man in handcuffs in Edo State are facing discipline-aged man dragging him through the road in Egboma, Edo State. The incident was said to have caused apprehension. However, her statement today by the force spokesperson, Muyiwa Adejabi, added that the IG had ordered the disbandment of the unit in the state. And back here, micro and small business operators in New York, Kwabam State Capital, have called on the federal government to make visible the quick access loan promised to micro, small and medium businesses and also boost the business. Through Spectrum Television, they added that aside boosting their businesses with the loan, it will assist them to cater for their families.
In terms of the business now, I'm just starting the business. If they give me, after taking a shop, as in, I can still establish more business to add.
We move now to Africa, where the United Nations the UN Human Rights Office in Sudan said it had received credible reports of more than 20 incidents of conflict-related sexual violence. Unconscionable that Sudan women and children were being traumatized in such ways, adding that still in Africa, the World Health Organization, WHO, Global Vaccine Alliance, Gavi, and the UN Children's Fund, UNICEF, have announced that 12 African countries will have a vaccine against malaria over the next 2 years. And WHO Director General Tedros Ghebreyesus said malaria remained one of Africa's deadly of global malaria deaths in 2021. Ghebreyesus named the countries to receive the vaccine to include the Democratic Republic of Congo, Burkina Faso, Niger, Uganda, Benin Republic, Liberia, Burundi, Sierra Leone, and Cameroon, adding that the first doses are expected to arrive during the last quarter of this year. Team Kyiv has said that Ukraine is pushing ahead with reforms despite the fact that it is under attack from Russia. Kyiv was responding to comments from the White House today. The White House Press Secretary Karen Jean-Pierre said that Ukraine would have to implement reforms to meet the same standards as any NATO country before they are able to join the alliance. Meanwhile, Ukrainian Foreign Minister spokesman Oleg Nikolenko said the country's fundamental internal transformations, while Belarus leader Alexander Lukashenko says the whereabouts of the head of the Wagner mercenary group, Yevgeny Prigozhin, who led a short-lived armed rebellion in Russia last month, have been a mystery since he was seen in southern Russia during the mutiny. Lukashenko said under a deal to end the mutiny, charges against Prigozhin were dropped and he was to be allowed to move to Belarus, but his whereabouts remains. Paris Saint-Germain signs Milan's Skriniar 5-year deal after free transfer from Inter. To stay with us. Many thanks for staying with us. We move now to the rest of the news stories. On a business news, the federal government has warned carbon emission reduction traders who were trading without recourse to assessment of carbon pricing initiative in Nigeria, as it explained that the country had released an initial regulatory guidance which emphasizes the need for a carbon trading scheme. Speaking at the workshop, the Director General, National Council on Climate Change, a federal government agency with Nigeria's nationally determined contributions on carbon emission, hence should not be altered. According to him, carbon trading scheme was an aspect of its national policy. Still in business, power consumers have kicked against the export of about 23.13 billion naira worth of electricity from Nigeria to some neighboring countries in 2022, despite the widespread weakness in many Nigerian communities. The latest data on the remittances by international customers obtained from the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission in Abuja show that Nigeria continued its export of electricity to the republics of Benin. Nigeria in 2022 was $50.98 million, but the international customers remitted 32. In held, the Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors, NARD, has issued a 2-week ultimatum to the federal government. Ultimatum after its extraordinary National Executive Council meeting held via Zoom. Speaking in an interview, the president of NARD, Dr. Emeka Orji, called on the government to, without 2014 to 2016, and the areas of consequential adjustment of minimum wage. Meanwhile, the representatives of the United Nations Population Fund in Nigeria, Ola Mola, has said that women and girls face obstacles and Associate Hajia Habib in Abuja ahead of the commemoration of the 2023 World Population Day. The country representative said discrimination and gender-based violence limit access to healthcare and education, while unequal economic opportunities continue to impede women and girls' progress. Mola added that detrimental social norms, stereotypes, and to sports now, where Paris Saint-Germain have signed defender Milan Skriniar on a 5-year deal after his free transfer from Inter Milan. The Slovakia international played for Inter for 5 years and won the Serie A title in the 2020-2021 season. The 28-year-old signs for PSG a day after the French sport. England has kept their harshest hopes alive with a thrilling 3-run victory over Australia in the must-win second T20 at the Oval. Danny Watt, 76 from 46 balls, propelled England to 186-9, the highest ever T20 total against world champions Australia. England trailed 6-2 in the multi-format series and need a total of 9 points in order to regain the Ashes. We move to entertainment, where award-winning Nigerian singer Tiwa Savage is said to become the first female Afrobeats artist to headline the 13,000 Wembley Arena in the UK. Roots on her music performance at Prince Charles's coronation and her upcoming show in the UK. The award-winning singer is set to headline the Wembley Oval Arena on November 26, 2023, in a historic performance she promises would be unforgettable. Still on entertainment, Nigerian singer and rapper Keshinro Ololade, popularly known as Feeling Funny, in a video with Nigerian singer, songwriter and record producer Young John. Reports say the single packs a beat that carries Lil Kech's familiar flows and Young John's stellar melodies. And that's all we have for you at this time. Do ensure to follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, spectrumtv.ng. You've been watching